Clark, and I'm here with Martha Josey, and we are here to honor her husband, R.E. Josey, who is a 2023 Rodeo Historical Society inductee. And I'm so sorry that he's not here with us, but I know that he'll do a fantastic job telling us about his wonderful life.
And you know, Oklahoma City is one of his very favorite towns. You know, he won so much here in the rodeo and the AQHA Hall of Fame. AQHA Horse of the Year and everything. He won it right here at Oklahoma City.
Yes.
And so Oklahoma City is definitely one of his favorite rodeos and towns.
Yes, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about Josey in his younger days. So where was he born and when?
He was born in Post, Texas in 1930. Yes, because he'd be 93 right now. So, yes, Post, Texas he wasn't born into a rodeo family at all, but from the early age, he loved horses, and finally his daddy ended up buying him some goats to rope, and he said that's how he learned how to rope, is roping goats.
Wow, what a challenge roping a goat.
Yeah, really.
And I've seen in some things I've been researching on early rodeo, and there used to be jackrabbit roping. And I can't imagine how challenging that must be to rope a jackrabbit.
Oh, exactly.
Yes, absolutely. So, what were his parents' names?
His parents was Walter and Addie Josey, and they were just most super parents in the world. They had 9 children, and I think R.E. had 2 sisters that are twins that are still living, and they're going to be so proud of this award. And his daughter is here tonight to watch me receive the award. And everybody in his family, they never rodeoed, but Josey just loved horses and when he started rodeoing, that was his life.
At what age did he start rodeoing?
Probably when he was barely out of high school.
What events did he compete in?
Everybody. He rode a few bulls and he rode a few broncs, but mainly the calf roping. And then kind of when he retired from calf roping, he loved steer team roping, and always loved steer roping, but never got to do that much of it, but he loved it.
It's just a rodeo fan,
and your husband was one of his very favorite.
Oh, well,
Yes.
we love Josey.
Yes.
So many people did.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I see that there is May 10th is Ari and Martha Josey Appreciation Day. Is that an annual event, or was that just a one-time honor because you all have done so much for the town of Karnak, Texas?
Yes, and we're actually in between Marshall and Karnak, and it is kind of an annual event, and when they brought it out, well, they really made it really public and everything, and we've been really fortunate to live in the town of course, Marshall and in between Marshall and Karnak. They've really supported us, and we started the schools in 1967 and are continuing it today, and we actually right now when I'm accepting Josey's award tonight, we've got 80 barrel racers from 10 states, and I know I've got at least 30 that are under 12 years old.
Oh my gosh.
So, you know, clinics are big, everybody, but that was one of the things about Josey that he enjoyed the most was teaching. Really an outstanding teacher.
Yes. So how many events do y'all have on your place in a year?
Well, we've got about 15 clinics, barrel racing clinics. We've got the Josey World Champion Junior Barrel Race for 20 and under. And then we've got the Josey Reunion for former students. And now this year, we added the Josey Gold Cup Senior Barrel Race.
Oh.
We ended up having, the first year, 275.
Oh
Over
my-
50, they had the best time.
That's great.
And it's going to be an annual event.
So how long have you had the junior barrel race?
It started in 1981.
Oh my gosh, that is
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah.
It's-
So think of the economic impact. I mean, y'all certainly needed to be recognized for the economic impact that you've had on that town and that county. I mean, for every clinic that you have, think of the thousands of dollars that people spend while they're at your clinic. So how long would a clinic last? Normally, like a couple days or?
We've got 2.5-day clinics and 3-day clinics. Like on holidays, like Thanksgiving, it's always a 3-day. Easter is a 3-day, and most of the others are 2.5. Then we have 2 one-week schools, and that's how we actually started in 1967. We had a 2-week school at the ranch, and kids from all over the country came, and we're still continuing having that school today.
So what kind of amenities do you have to offer to have a 2-week school like that?
Well,
What kind of amenities? I know you used to have like dormitories and that sort of thing. So what do you have on your?
we still
Your ranch.
have, well, we got a huge trophy room, and that was the top of the barn. We made it into a trophy room. And we've got, the other top of the barn is the girls' dormitory, and we've got a boys' dormitory. And at the clinics, they, everybody's got their own rigs now, and their living quarters, and so parents stay with them. But at our schools now, most of the parents they stay because they come from so far and they love, what we're doing, and so they stay.
It's such a great atmosphere. It really is, and you have so many games, and don't you still kind of do that sort of thing with the kids
Yes.
when you have them that many days?
Oh, we sure do. They have such a good time. We've got a indoor arena and an outdoor, the big outdoor arena, and then we've got a back arena. We've got a western store now. And the reason we've got a western store, I would take them to town to have to buy anything for their horse, and I thought one day, this is not good, taking my kids off. And so now everything that we do is ranch done, right there at the ranch. So.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, one-stop shop. You don't even have to leave the
Yes.
property and take your rig. That is great. When did y'all get married?
1966.
What was your courtship like? How did y'all meet?
We met at Hillsboro, Texas at a barrel racing and calf roping. And he always told me that he really was trying to get my horse.
I read
And
that.
that was CeBe Reed.
I
And
read
he
that.
stuck with that story for years. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about CeBe Reed. What made him so special?
Oh,
And
well,
what did you do with him?
my dad was one of the first directors of the Quarter Horse Association. And when he passed away, I was only 10 years old. And my mother, we had 36 mares, and she sold all of the horses except one. And a few years, right before Josey and I actually met, this man named CeBe Reed had come and bought one of the mares. She bred that mare to Frank's Pal, an all thoroughbred horse. And he called and he said, I've got this 3-year-old, his name's CeBe Reed, you need him. And I said, I don't even have a horse trailer or a way to haul him. And mother had an old Buick that had 300,000 miles. I rented a horse trailer for $5 and went and picked up CeBe. And one thing that really made him so special, that he had a different style. He'd run to a girl and sit behind and slide, come around, pull with his front end. But the first time I called him, he actually let me take him home, and he wanted me to finish training him, which I didn't know that much about training then, but he was so natural. But I called him one day and I said, Mr. Reynolds, what do you want for this horse? And he said, $5,000. I didn't even have $5. So I rode to kept riding him, and one day again I called him. I said, what do you want for him? He said, what will you give? I said, $2,500 and 3 horses. He said, okay, I'll take it. And I almost fainted because I didn't have $25. But I went home and asked my mother, and I said, Mama, I just want CeBe Reed for 20. she said, baby, I leased my land today for $2,500. And so when Josey, he loved that horse, and from the very beginning, and he always said, I was really after her horse.
Did you ever let him rub calves on him?
No. He wanted to, though, I think.
I imagine.
Yeah.
I imagine
Yeah.
he was
But I
very.
think he realized how important it was for me to race.
Yes. So after y'all got married, did he grow up in Post?
Yes.
Okay, and so, and you were from the East Texas area, so, after y'all got married, what possessed y'all to go to Karnak and create what you've created?
Okay, that's a really good story too, because when we first got married in '66, he moved me to Post. And I thought, oh my gosh, where's the pine trees? No pine trees. The dust was flying. He had a little trailer house that had a red refrigerator and a blue stove and a yellow something else. And every day I'd say, you know what? I'd love to, why don't we go to East Texas? And he said, what will we do? Because he actually had a job in the oil fields. And I said, we'll go have a rodeo school. And he said, well, where? And I said, well, my grandmother's got this place. And she's got 2 barns on it. And that's exactly what we did. We went to Marshall and between Marshall and Karnak.
So that was your grandmother's place? Oh, that is great.
And we went out a piece of land right there. And I said, I think that's where I want the arena. And I said, what do you think? He said, I think so. And that is where, and that ground is so wonderful. You never have to disc it. You have to pour the water on it because it's natural sand. And it's so funny because right over here is clay, right here is rock, but it was just, and Josey always said, you know, it was the Lord helping us to find that piece of land.
Yes, absolutely, and the good soil,
Yeah.
conducive for what y'all
was.
do.
To this day, you know, it rained all day the last couple of days, and it's still perfect.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what were schools like in that era? And obviously y'all stepped it up a notch to create what you have today, and they're just so popular.
Well, the only school that was going on at that time was Dell and Florence Uri had some great schools, and they were having some schools at the time. And when we first started, we didn't know exactly what to do. We fed them, we fed the horses, and actually the tuition the first year was $100. And that fed you and your horse for 2 weeks. And we had to get the calves and everything for the calf roping school. But then it turned into, they wanted so many kids from all over the country wanted to come that we had, at one time we had 4 2-week schools.
Oh my gosh.
And then we were trying to rodeo too.
Yeah.
So it was really, really hard.
Yeah.
One of the best stories that I can tell about R.E. Josey is he always could get you home in time for a school. And we were coming from Florida. And we were driving all the way from Florida. And he finally, we had a little truck with a little camper on top. And he said, Martha, he said, I'm just too sleepy driving anymore. Can you drive? I said, oh, I don't know. I'm kind of sleepy. But I said, okay, I'll drive. And I drove. And finally, he had gone and gotten up in the camper and went to sleep. And I just saw a roadside park, and I just pulled in. And instead of keeping straight, I kind of turned the other direction. And when
Hang on just a second.
That was weird. It just
Oh,
kinda-
yeah. That was very weird. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't.
And when I did, I just kind of turned, went the other direction, and I crawled up in the cabin, went to sleep with him, and in a few minutes he woke up and he said, who's driving this thing? I said, I got sleepy, so he said, okay, I'll drive. And he got down, he started driving. Well, he didn't know that I had turned and gone, and he said he looked up and here was Montgomery, Alabama or somewhere, and he said, oh my God, Martha. And he said, he asked me, he said, "Do you know how long you drove?" And I said, "Well, it was a long time." He said, "You drove 3 miles." So, you know, that was one of the best stories. Because it was always, And Josey, he passed away when he was 91, but he was still very active. He was mentally great and still having a really good time.
That's great.
And still teaching, at our
Yes.
school.
Yeah. He had such a servant's heart. Yeah, he just did so much for kids. And tell me about his relationship with the AJRA.
He helped to start it with somebody from Lubbock, and he was real big into the AJRA and all the kids and everything back when he was at Post. And then from then, he also helped to start the National Barrel Horse Association.
I was going to ask you about that. And y'all are such visionaries. And talk about rethinking barrel racing with these half-second or 1-second increments. What made you think that that would just be so revolutionary?
Well, when the MBHA started, it was mostly jackpots. There were maybe 30, 35 was a big number. And so we were thinking, how can we get more people involved? And so when we went to the divisions, like if the best time of the day was 17 flat, then skip a half of a second, go to the 2D, another half of a second to go to the 3D, and a whole second to go to the 4D. And it brought people that had quit and they'd retired their horses. It brought them back out again. And now, of course, there's thousands that run at these barrel races.
Yes, it's wonderful. And like the youth level, just like we were interviewing Ronny Sewalt, and she was barrel racing against adults, which is fine, and a lot of kids do nowadays. But it's just so nice that the kids have their own division. There's a senior division, like you were talking about, 50 and over. And I remember that barrel racing used to be like novice, like your horse would be $100 novice on your horse's ability, and that was seemingly how things were broken down, or you would run in the open level. But this is so revolutionary, the 4D format, that every age group, every level of horse is competable.
Oh, yeah.
It's just great.
And it brought, at our senior barrel race, I think the oldest horse was like 28. We had a lot of 20-year-old horses and over. Look, and they still love doing what they're doing.
Yes.
But the senior women and men that entered our barrel race, they love it.
Yes, absolutely. I just think that is so revolutionary, because normally your mindset would be you want to be first and with the open competitors, but just to rethink that format is just brilliant. I wonder how many events there are already here in the NBHA.
A lot.
Yeah.
All over the world.
And is it
any other
international?
country. Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes, at the NBHA this year, I actually went and I was the clinician for the youth barrel racing. And they had like 2,500 kids. And they had Brazil, they had China, there are a lot of different countries, Canada. And I got to meet Netherlands, a lot of different countries were there. I think 8 different countries.
Oh my gosh. Did you and Ari go internationally to do clinics?
No, we didn't. We were so busy doing here, and a lot of other people did, and I know they had a really good time, but we had so much going on at the ranch.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. How long have you been having schools? 67, you said, I
Yes.
believe.
Over 50 years.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
Yeah.
that is absolutely.
And still, we just did our schedule for next year, and some of the schools are already full.
And that's just at
the
the Josey
roping, the
Ranch.
breakaway roping.
Oh.
You know, because of all the girls,
Mhm.
and our breakaway roping is just outstanding.
When did you add breakaway?
The girls have done the breakaway at the schools a long time. We actually added the breakaway at the school as an event, 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah.
What was the most important thing for Josey? What's the most important thing you guys would try to stress to the youth students that would come to your ranch? Not, you know, maybe life skill or horsemanship skill. What was the main focus?
Getting that good horse, going to good schools, you know, because he and I both had to learn everything from experience, which is a very costly teacher. And we knew that, you know, having schools would help. But I would think, and really, I think probably the best thing is how to organize and how to, well, and I've always said the 4 Ds: dedication, desire, discipline, determination. You know, teaching that to our students. And we've had quite a few students that have gone on to become doctors and attorneys, and, you know, so really, and I think that was one thing about Josey, that he was such a great teacher. And so many of his students went on to become world champions, but he never had to have the credit for it. He just tapped them on the back and said, "You're doing good." And they would call him all night. You know, one of them would get through with a rodeo, and they did James Ann. He was a left-handed roper that went to the NFR. He would call Josey right after a rodeo, you know, and he'd be down in the dumps, and Josey talked to him for 30 minutes. He'd be high as a kite, ready to go.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, of
Sowing
course.
that good seed, both of y'all.
And of course, Kincaid Henry started when he was 5 at the ranch, and now he made the NFR this past year, and he'll be a world champion one day soon.
Yes, absolutely. And just the schools that you guys offer, yeah, the life lessons and the organization, and then the horsemanship. It's just,
Horsemanship.
yes. And Josey was so good, having an eye for a good horse.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
He was. In fact, the year that we went to a clinic up in Oklahoma, he said, "You better look at that bay horse." And I said, "The one that goes around the first girl out the arena?" He said, "Yeah, you better look at him." And so that evening, we went out to eat with these people, and this lady said, "Well, I sure did like that bay horse." And I thought, uh-oh. Josey already told me I better look at him. So I had no idea what the girl's name was, and I went up down the motel. There was 500 rooms. "Hello, do you have a bay horse?" And I was sitting in the room that night, and I'm thinking, "Oh my gosh, I've got to find that girl." And a truck starts outside, and I looked out the blinds, and it was that girl. And I said, "Come here." And I said, "You want to sell your horse?" And she said, "Oh, well, I'm not going to give him away." And I said, "Well, what do you want?" She told me. I bought him, wrote a check, and Josey, when he woke up, I said, "That bay horse that you liked, I just bought him." And so, of course, that was Sonny Bilbo.
Oh, that's awesome.
Only horse that ever won both AQHA and WPRA in the same
Yes,
year.
that's right.
You know, and Josey found him for me. He was phenomenal in finding horses.
Yeah. What was a strength that he would look for conformationally, or what was, something that he liked about a horse?
Desire.
Mm. So it wasn't so much conformationally, it was just the
No,
willingness.
desire, because he rode a lot of horses that maybe were crippled. I know he had one little horse that had such a bad foot, but that horse had so much desire, and he always talked about him.
Tell us about his involvement in the AQHA and the phenomenal success he had there.
He won the AQHA World Championship on 3 different horses. He rode a horse named Toe Bars for Mr. C.T. Fuller from Pennsylvania, and won the world on that horse, and he was a stallion. He won the world on a horse named Silver Creek Jake, which was a black gelding. He later sold him to James Harper, and he won everything on him. And then the other one was, oh golly, I never thought
Hang on.
you got
I had it written in here.
Silver Creek Jake
Silver-
Tovar,
yes.
Major Chalfont.
Yes, shut
He
up. Yeah.
found him at Dodge City, Kansas, one of the rodeo towns, and he went and bought him. And here again, he had that good eye for roping horses, and it was hard because we were trying to rodeo and make the AQHA, and then we got into the NBHA. So he loved going to everything, and that was one thing, you know, that he was so good at.
Did y'all have drivers? Or was it
No.
mainly Josey
It
driving?
was mostly
Oh
Josey.
my gosh.
Yes.
Oh.
No, we hardly ever had drivers.
That is.
Wore out a lot of motorhomes.
Y'all have had so many relationships with prominent people. And I remember a story, like who were some of the famous people that y'all have been friends with or kids went through the school? And then there's one that I want to ask you about in particular.
Okay, George Foreman.
That was the one I was going to ask you about.
Oh,
There was
George
a
came
great
to the,
story
yeah,
about him.
he came and wanted to ride a horse. And first thing we put him on a horse, and George, his feet are that long. You know. He's a big guy and won the world in the boxing.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, this horse took off, and George's feet went far, and he was getting ready to fight for a lot of money. And his trainer said, Miss R.E. Josey, would you please get him off that horse?
Oh.
But that was one of them, and just numerous. Somebody that just recently passed away was Walt Garrison.
Yes.
He was always one of R.E.'s really good friends. There's so many.
Yeah.
And we always loved to visit with Reba McIntyre. And,
Yeah, she was a barrel racer.
And tomorrow is Miranda Lambert's birthday. I had somebody come to the ranch today and say, can me and you buy something for Miranda out of your store
Oh,
to take to
nice.
her birthday party?
Oh my goodness, that's cool.
So that was good.
There was a fun story about George Foreman and y'all about gave him a heart attack with your bear.
Yeah, he,
But I love that story.
George has got several sons, and they're all named George.
Uh-huh.
And he brought everyone up to the ranch just to see the bear in the wall.
Well, yeah, well, the first time you saw the bear though, didn't y'all
Yeah.
about scare him and about tore your house down or something?
He said he had his one white moment in life.
Tell us about the bear.
Okay. One of the dads that came to our school was from Baylor, of course, Baylor Bears. And so he gave me a couple of bear heads. And I thought, oh, this is going to be fun. And we made a room in the den that goes back through to our bedroom. And so you went around, somebody, oh, have you seen our AQHA World Champion buckle there in this case? You open it, and Josey would usually send me around to push the bear's head out. Let me clear my,
There's one, yeah.
yeah. So.
Okay. Yeah, and so you had this bear that would shoot out of like the wall or a cabinet.
Yeah, you seen him?
I never went in y'all's house. Never been in y'all's house, but I always heard about the bear and how y'all did that to George Foreman the first time, and it was great.
Oh, yeah, he had a good time.
Let's see. So did you know Ronny Sewalt? He used to rodeo
Yeah,
with Josey.
Josey, yes.
Yeah, phenomenal left-handed calf roper. We really enjoyed talking to Latan. Yeah, we had here that Josey had worked for an oil company, and then he and Ronny rodeoed.
Yes.
Yeah.
In fact, when we first got married, Ronny and Joyce came by and spent the night with us several times.
Yeah, they were a great family.
Josey always said that Ronny had more talent than anybody that he'd ever seen, you know.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
really, really bragged about it.
Yeah, and phenomenal for a left hand, because that has to be a disadvantage in some respects, being a left-handed roper.
Yes.
And, you know, setups and box and roping box and that sort of thing, especially left-handed steer ropers, like Trevor Brazil's dad, and, you know, how arenas had to be adjusted for left-handed steer ropers for that event. So, yeah, he was phenomenal, wasn't he?
Yes.
Really was. Are there any other stories you'd like to share about Josey and y'all's life together? You've created so much and done so many things for rodeo.
Where'd Marge go? She went. Oh, golly. Probably, well, one thing that Josey was always so proud of, most people, when they come across the cattle guard, they say that when they cross into the Josey Ranch, they feel like they're in heaven. And I think that one reason was because Josey was so good to people. He always had time to visit, you know, and it didn't matter if they were president of the United States or if they were a little boy, you know, whoever it was. One of the cutest stories about Josey, we'd been working out in the arena all day long, riding horses and everything, and we had some company in the house, and so we finally got to go in the house and for supper, and it was dark and late and everything, and Josey came in the house and he said, there's two little girls out there and they want your help. And I said, I've been out there all day long. I said, no, if they want my help, they can come to a clinic. And he said, well, I'm not gonna go tell them. If anything, you go tell them that you don't have time. And I said, okay, I will. And I walked out there and these two little girls looked up and said, are you Martha Josey? And I said, yeah, baby, what do you need? But Josey was always there for anybody that ever wanted help. And I think that was one of the greatest things about him. And of course, he was my coach, you know, and for the years that even after he kind of quit roping, he would still want to haul me. And, you know, and we went to a lot of rodeos together.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
All over the world.
Yes.
Well, all over the USA for sure.
Yeah.
And, but probably the most thing about him was the relationship with the kids. And the barrel racers, they all loved him, you know, to this day, the little ones, the teenagers. It didn't matter if they were 6 years old, a teenager, or older, you know, everybody loved Josey.
Yeah, absolutely. He was very much loved and adored and revered. What other Hall of Fames has he been inducted into?
He is in the Texas Rodeo Hall of Fame. He is in the Texas Cowboy Hall of Fame. Both of those are in Fort Worth. And then he's in the Louisiana Hall of Fame. It's the Sports Hall of Fame.
Oh, really?
In Shreveport.
Oh, that's great.
Yes.
Yes.
And that was one thing, when I got inducted in this Hall of Fame, I thought then, oh, I wish we could be inducted together. And then after I got the Tad Lucas Award last year, and then when he got it this year, this was just phenomenal.
Yes.
You know.
And what an honor, the first time that he had been nominated to get inducted.
Yes.
What a great honor. That meant that, yeah, he was most definitely worthy of being in here.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad that he's going to be inducted this evening. And thank you, Martha, for sitting down and taking some time with us and telling us about R.E. Josey.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure, and he was he was fun to be with, and a great coach, and I can't say enough good things about him. Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.